them.
So I could tell you stories like that one for days. Over
I've
the
no
years,
doubt.
I've trained children with autism. They got
Mm.
off the drugs and off of therapy.
Wow.
Veterans with PTSD got off the drugs and off the therapy. Alcoholics, drug addicts,
Wow.
people with problems at home, abused children, you name it. And I've seen jiu-jitsu help them. But I'm going to tell you my favorite one. About maybe 8 years ago, I taught a seminar in the northeast of Brazil in a city called Caruaru. It's a city in the middle of nowhere. It's a historical town it's got some interesting history
Mm.
behind it. But I was there for a seminar. It turns out it's the middle of nowhere in Brazil. So no one thinks about teaching a seminar in the middle of nowhere in Brazil. But I went there because I was invited. We have an affiliate there. I had never been there before. I had heard so much about Caruaru that I'm like, I want to go. For Brazilians, at Terra do Lampião.
Yeah.
So that's what everybody's. And when I got there, it turned out to be the biggest seminar I ever taught in my life. It was me and Kavaka, my partner. We had like something like
Nice.
250 people at the seminars. I've never taught a seminar even close to that big. Turns out that if you go somewhere where no one ever goes, all the people right? Which is kind of true. In fact, to go to California and teach, I get 20 people. I go to Arkansas and I get 50 people in the room. But so it's a big seminar of that. And there's this guy at the seminar called Hugo, and I'll never forget. It was his promotion to black belt, and he was a paraplegic.
Oh.
And Hugo's story got promoted to black belt. I got to know him a little bit better. But when he was a blue belt, he had just started training. He had one of those pull-up bars on his doorway in his bedroom. And I think the story when he came running at it and he jumped at it and he grabbed the bar and his legs came forward. So right when his legs came forward, the bar detached.
Mm.
So he landed on his tailbone and broke his back.
Mm.
Right? So he was paraplegic, young guy, like maybe early 20s, and he, his family then was jiu-jitsu. But what was beautiful about the story is that he didn't look at him being in a wheelchair as ending his jiu-jitsu journey. He stuck to jiu-jitsu. And I got to spend a week with those guys. And it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. I'll never forget the lesson. These guys, and he came from poverty. He was not a wealthy guy. He was in a poor, very simple house. That's where he lived. And people would pick him up. The jiu-jitsu guys would pick him up. And I did this every morning. They would pick him up. They would go to his bedroom. They would carry him into the car. They would get his wheelchair. They would fold it. They
Wow.
would put it in the trunk of the car. They would drive him to the gym. And then they pull out the wheelchair, carry him back on the gym, help him get dressed, carry him to the mats, train with him. Guy can't use his legs. He can't do a whole bunch, but he's training every day.
Right.
And at the end, they do the same thing. They go out to eat or take him home or whatever. And they did this every day. And Hugo was a part of the family like everyone else. And I'm watching all these guys doing that. I'm like, man, that's incredible. Like, how many people do that? You see people talking about moral righteousness and doing good and being kind. Be kind. And you hear all that.
Yeah.
But okay, you're talking about it. But what are you doing?
Yeah.
And these guys were doing it. And Hugo was the other thing about Hugo, he was the life of the party. Like everywhere, he was so happy and so funny. And then people would like crack jokes. And you think the guy in the wheelchair, no one's ever going to make fun of that guy, right?
Right.
Brazilians don't understand. Tearing the guy up, they make fun of him. You're like, holy cow, man, you can't talk shit to a guy in a wheelchair. And Hugo's firing back like with my jokes and ripping them to pieces, man. That guy had a phenomenal sense of humor. And they're just going back and forth, talking shit to each other in the Brazilian style. And I'm like having the time of my life with these people. I'm like laughing. I'm like, man, this is one of the best groups of people I've ever met in my life. An amazing groups of people. And I think Hugo was sort of like, I don't know if the accident was the catalyzer to that,
Right.
but Hugo's accident didn't just, I believe it changed Hugo. But
Sure.
I think the group around him too, they made him all better people for it. And
Wow.
man, I haven't been back since, but I always tell myself I want to go back because I actually really miss those guys in that place because I was only there for a week, but I had such an incredible, and it changed me in a sense.
Sure.
Because I'm watching people complaining, and everyone's a victim these days. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. It's like we've normalized victimhood like it's something glorious, and it's not.
Yeah.
And you're Hugo, a real victim, first of poverty, and then being
right.
And he's got a huge smile on his face, and he's happy, and nothing, and he doesn't feel like a victim.
Yeah.
And I thought it was such a powerful life lesson.